Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago records its first and second murders for 2019. Internationally, U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren takes step toward presidential run. And in sports, Jason Holder ends year in top 10. We'll have the details of these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse.
Wrong.
Welcome back, and now the national news in detail. Former Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis and leader of the opposition, the Honorable Dr. Denzil Douglas, is on a list of notable persons who have been barred or excluded from the United States of America by the Bureau of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, of the United States Department of Homeland Security, DHS. This department handles deportation in the United States, often in conjunction with advice from the U.S. Department of State. According to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, former Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Denzil Douglas, has had his visa to enter the United States revoked in January 2015. It added that the reason for this was because of his lax citizenship by investment controls, which allowed for the participation of illicit actors who were then obtaining SKN passports with relative ease. His name appears on the list among other notable figures. In spite of the situation, Dr. Douglas has never acknowledged that his U.S. visa was revoked and that he has been barred from entering the United States. In commenting on the revocation of the visa for the U.S. government, Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Timothy Harris said the U.S. determined that Denzil Douglas was improper and unfit to be accorded a U.S. diplomatic visa. A Kittitian man who was living in Dutch St. Martin is reported to have succumbed to his injuries sustained from an accident and died at the hospital in Guadeloupe on December 24th. On December 31st, On December 13th, an accident took place on Union Road in Cold Bay across from Burger King, where a motorbike slammed into two vehicles. Justin Ghost Richards, alias Justin England of College Street, St. Kitts, was later identified as the victim. Because of the severity of his injuries, and because he was a French resident, the medical team opted to transport him to the Louis Constant Hospital on the French side, where he could be flown out to Guadeloupe. The VON Newsline understands that on the day an armed robbery occurred. The robber, who was wearing dark clothing, used a scooter and left the scene with it, according to eyewitnesses. Police was notified and an alert search bulletin was issued for a robber on a scooter wearing dark clothing. Richards, who was dressed in the same clothing, was mistaken for the robber, and a police chase between him and a police officer transpired. Richards was moving at high speed when he reached at the intersection of Tejansee Fat and Union Roads. A car came out into the road, causing Richards to crash into him and later hit another vehicle. The VON Newsline also understands that because of the fear of having his bike confiscated from police, he fled from police. Nevis's Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Mark Brantley, has pledged that his CCM-led government will continue to pursue renewable energy. Here is Premier Brantley.
My government pledges to sustain and build on the gains made in the year that has passed. High among our priorities will be to ensure the achievement of sustainable, affordable, and reliable energy. Therefore, we will also continue to pursue and promote renewable energy in the form of geothermal, wind, and solar energy.
Meantime, in his 2019 New Year's message, he also pledged that the government will continue its road expansion work.
We will continue to expand our roads and bridges network, giving greater access to our villages and communities. In 2019, we will witness Phase 2 of the Brownhill, Bart Village, and the Craddock Road projects. In addition to these, we will also see the continuation of Shores Road into the village of Funk.
Premier, the Honorable Mark Brantley. Leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, NRP, Mr. Roberto Hector, in his first New Year's message as leader of the NRP, criticized the Concerned Citizens Movement, CCM government, and said the CCM focused more on publicity. Here is Mr. Hector.
The records will show that the Concerned Citizens Movement has spent its first year in office on this new term and new leader with little to show. In 2018, we seem to have touted and celebrated style over substance. A love of publicity has taken precedence over the love of humanity.
Nonetheless, he provided some insight into a few plans his party has.
In 2019, the NRP intends to have further and detailed conversation with all stakeholders to restore the pride, posture, and patriotism, if you will, of the Nivision. We will follow the path of conservation regarding the relationship between the two great people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our conversation shall look at the problems caused and the opportunities afforded Brexit. We shall garner views from the internal working of the United Kingdom, with no fewer than 8 islands administrations. Our broad objective is to find the Nivision in ourselves.
Mr. Roberto Hector. 3 out of 4 hotels from St. Kitts and Nevis, which have been named in the Condé Nast Travelers Reader's Choice Awards, Top 50 Best Resorts in the Caribbean, are establishments from the island of Nevis, while one is located on St. Kitts. The top 4 hotels in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis are Four Seasons Resort Nevis, Nesbitt Plantation, also from Nevis, Park Hyatt, and Montpelier Hotel Nevis. The Reader's Choice Awards, issued on December 21st, 2018, ranked the hotels as follows: 33rd, Montpelier Hotel; 41st, Park Hyatt; 45th, Nesbitt Plantation Beach Club; and 47th, the Four Seasons Resort Nevis. Le Barthélemy Hotel and Spa, located on St. Bart's, was ranked the #1 hotel in the Caribbean. And finally, Jonah Valerie is Mr. GQ 2018. This, as he won the Mr. GQ National Carnival competition, which was also part of the Sugar Mass 47 activities. Jonah, who was sponsored by True Couple Studios, was the crowd favorite, delivering entertaining performances throughout the various appearances. He also was the winner of Beach Wear, on-stage interview, and winner of the costume segments. Jonah gained 768.5 points, defeating his closest rival by 77 points. The first runner-up was Leroy James with 691.5 points. He also won the GQ segment, Most Popular on Social Media, and My Brother's Keeper Award. Second runner-up was Nivision Lorenzo Philip with 661.5 points. That's our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on our Facebook at Von Radio and our Von Radio YouTube channel. News from across the region is next.
That's right. It's that time of the year once again where your bank, the Bank of Nevis Limited, is offering very low interest rate on brand new vehicles. But that's not all. We are offering a discounted bill of sale and your insurance payment will be covered. So visit us today or just dial 869-469-5564 and speak to our very experienced lenders. My bank, your bank, our bank, the Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook.
If you wanna go and take a ride with me, we three willing in the four with the cozies. So why do I live this way? Must be the money.
Conditions apply.
Welcome back. Another regional news in detail. Out of Trinidad and Tobago. The country has recorded its first murder and second murder for the year 2019. First, on Tuesday, January 1st, the body of a drunk man was found in Silats area around 10:30 a.m. with his head bashed in. The dead man has since been identified as 55-year-old Daniel Mehaber, who was a known scavenger in the area, police said. Meantime, approximately 12 hours later, the country's second murder for 2019 was recorded. Reports say 31-year-old Samuel Sukdio of Kuvav was gunned down around 10:45 p.m. Local media say a man dressed in camouflage clothing ambushed him and his friends while at a friend's house at Buchan Road, Union Village. The camouflage killer opened fire and Samuel was shot more than a dozen times. The killer then ran off in the bushes and escaped. Sukdio died at the scene while the other man who was shot in the back was taken to hospital where he remains. The removal of the visa requirement for Haitians going to Barbados has resulted in a major scam, in which Haitians are being duped out of thousands of dollars with the hope of finding a job there. However, Barbados' ambassador to CARICOM, David Cummington, has given the assurance that officials are on top of the situation. Last week, a group of Haitians who were evicted from a 4-bedroom house called on local authorities to help them find temporary accommodation and to fund return tickets to their homeland. The young men said they had traveled to Barbados in search of a better life. However, they said they found no jobs and have exhausted their limited finances. Out of Antigua. An arrest warrant has been issued for Shakima Charles of St. Johnson Village, even as the police continue to investigate her partner, suspended Assistant Superintendent of Police Ray John, and his mother, Eva Nikki, for conspiracy to forge Antigua and Barbuda passports. Charles was questioned months ago after John was arrested along with his 63-year-old mother, who had been pulled from a flight that was about to depart Antigua in April. But lawmen did not arrest or charge the now wanted woman. Out of Grenada. People living in the United States now have more options and easier connections when traveling to Grenada. The airline has added a flight which leaves Miami International Airport after 9 a.m. and arrives at the Maurice Bishop International Airport after 1 p.m. on Saturdays, supplementing the existing flight that leaves Miami later in the mornings. Chief Executive Officer of the Grenada Tourism Authority, GTA, Patricia Maher, said they were happy for the double capacity for that key gateway of Miami International Airport on Saturdays with American Airlines. The U.S. market accounts for 47% of market share for stayover arrivals to Grenada, with the 5 top performing feeder markets being New York, Florida, New Jersey, California, and Texas. That's it for regional stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. U.S. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren has announced that she is establishing an exploratory committee to consider a presidential run in 2020. The move, the first by a high-profile Democrat for 2020, allows Ms. Warren, 69, to ramp up her fundraising. In a video address posted on social media on Monday, the senator outlined her vision for a United States that she said would offer opportunities to all Americans.
Today I announced an exploratory committee for President of the United States. I never thought I would run for anything ever in my life, but America's middle class is getting hollowed out, and opportunity for too many of our young people is shrinking. So I'm in this fight all the way. Right now, Washington works great for the wealthy and the well-connected. It's just not working for anyone else. But I am optimistic. I believe in what we can do together. I'm going to build a grassroots campaign. It's already got people from all across this country who are going to be part of it, and together we're going to make change.
Children in the UK exceed the maximum recommended sugar intake for an 18-year-old by the time they are 10, according to experts. This is based on their total sugar consumption from age of 2, says Public Health England, PHE. Children consume much more than they should, around 8 excess sugar cubes a day, or 2,800 excess cubes per year. PHE said a pudding tax should be considered if companies fail to reduce the amount of sugar in their products. 2 Indian women have made history by entering a prominent Hindu shrine in the southern state of Kerala, following months of protest against their entry. The Sabarimala temple was historically closed to women of menstruating age, defined as between 10 and 50. The Supreme Court overturned the ban, but protesters then attacked women and stopped them from going in. One activist has said it's a triumph for women.
The entry of women in the temple today is a historic win for us. It's a victory for equality, and it's a victory for women, because after the verdict of the Supreme Court, the protesters were opposing the entry of women, and today that protest has become unsuccessful.
And finally, the U.S. is hoping to get consular access within the next few hours to see U.S. citizen Paul Whelan, who was arrested in Russia on Friday for spying. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo told reporters that they wanted to know more about the charges, and if the detention is not appropriate, will demand his immediate return.
We are hopeful within the next hours we will get consular access to see him and get a chance to learn more. We've made clear to the Russians our expectation that we will learn more about the charges, come to understand what it is he's been accused of, and if the detention is not appropriate, we will demand his immediate return.
That's it for our news segments. The latest in sports is next. Welcome back. Another sports in detail. West Indies captain Jason Holder ended 2018 as the number 2 ranked all-rounder in tests and in the top 10 of the bowlers' rankings. In the latest rankings announced on December 31st, 2018 by the International Cricket Council, Holder had risen 2 places in the bowlers' rankings to 10, ensuring he heads into the new year rated among the elite bowlers in the longest format. As a result of his progress, he also jumped 2 places in the all-rounders rankings and is only now behind Bangladesh captain Shakib Al Hassan. His rise comes despite missing the recent tour of Bangladesh through injury. Holder had an outstanding year with the ball, claiming 33 wickets from 6 tests at an amazing average of 11.87, the best by any bowler in a calendar year for the last 100 years. The 27-year-old seamer picked up 12 wickets during Sri Lanka's 3-test tour of the Caribbean and followed up with the 16 scalps in a 2-test home series against Bangladesh. He is one of 2 West Indies players in the top 20 of the bowlers' rankings, with speedster Shannon Gabriel unmoved at 13th. India's Virat Kohli heads the batting rankings, while South Africa's seamer Kagiso Rabada tops the bowling charts. In tennis, Rafael Nadal pulled out of the Brisbane International with a left thigh strain but hopes to be fit for the Australian Open this month. The world number 2 said he had wanted to play, but that after an MRI scan, his doctors had advised him not to. The Spaniard, 32, missed November's ATP finals to have ankle surgery, having also had an abdominal muscle problem. In athletics, the president of the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, is bitterly disappointed after it was confirmed Russia's anti-doping agency missed the deadline to hand over data from its Moscow laboratory. Russia was set at December 31st deadline to comply, but WADA's inspection team was denied full access to samples. The country could now be at risk of another ban from international events after a state-sponsored doping scandal. WADA says it will refer the issue to its Compliance Review Committee. Only after 18 months since their promotion to full membership, Afghanistan have secured a direct place in the main group stage of the 2020 T20 World Cup in Australia by virtue of being in the top 8 teams in the ICC rankings at the 2018 cut-off date. Afghanistan's progression up to the T20I rankings corresponds with a slip down the order for Sri Lanka, who currently sit in 9th place on 87 points. It means the 2014 world champions will have to go through the opening round of the tournament in order to reach the Super 12s, where teams will be split into 2 groups of 6 for round-robin play. The 2020 format means Sri Lanka will need to finish in the top 2 of the 4-team group in the opening round in order to advance to the Super 12s. Afghanistan's progression also means that Zimbabwe will have to go into the T20 Global Qualifier for the first time just to earn a spot in the opening round of the T20 World Cup. Along with Ireland, it will also mark the first time that full members are part of the qualifying tournament. The 14-team T20 Global Qualifier is expected to take place in October or November this year at a venue yet to be determined. The top 6 teams at that tournament will join Sri Lanka and Bangladesh in the opening round in Australia. And finally, in boxing, Japanese kickboxer Tenshin Nasukawa says he underestimated Floyd Mayweather, but that he had concerns before his defeat in an exhibition boxing match on Monday. American former 5-weight world champion Mayweather, 41, needed only 140 seconds to beat Nasukawa in Tokyo. Nasukawa, 20, was knocked down 3 times and ended the fight in tears. He said despite all the things that happened leading up to the fight, he realized how great Mayweather was. Mayweather had a 4-kilogram or 9-pound weight advantage for the contest, which was worth a reported $9 million and was widely criticized. Both fighters are undefeated in their respective sports, and the defeat will not count towards Nasukawa's record. That's it for sports. The general weather forecast is next. Welcome back. Another local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight, it will be partly cloudy to cloudy with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Winds are east at 19 to 30 kilometers per hour or 10 to 16 knots. Seas are 1.5 to 2.1 meters or 5 to 7 feet. Small craft operators and sea bathers should exercise caution. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:42 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Wednesday, 2nd January 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, former SKN PM on U.S. Department of Homeland Security list of people barred from the U.S. And Kideshon man dies 11 days after car crash in St. Martin. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago records its first and second murders for 2019. Internationally, U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren takes step toward presidential run. And in sports, Jason Holder ends year in top 10. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashan Tyson, wishing you a pleasant evening.